A little more than a century ago, Daniel Burnham presented his plan for Chicago that made our city known as a city in a garden. In fact, Burnham designed Hamilton Park, where we are right now. The world has changed since Burnham's time, and so has Chicago. But his principles remain true today. Our neighborhoods and communities have expanded well beyond the lakefront and the riverbanks of Chicago. Today, the river runs through many vibrant communities, giving us the opportunity and the responsibility to make the river work for our neighborhoods today in the same way that it once worked for our industries a century ago. Our river will be Chicago's next great recreational park. The Chicago Park District runs the largest citywide after-school program, so investing in our park district keeps our children safe and strengthens the social fabric of our communities. We're here at Hamilton Park, joined also by the 7th District Police Commander, Larry Watson, that's here. Along with CAPS, he organized last summer, and going forward this year as well, a summer baseball league for more than 100 kids in the neighborhood to play baseball, and all doing it with the volunteer time of the Chicago Police Department from that district. Larry, thank you for being here. And at Fosco Park on the near west side in the 12th District, Commander Edward Kilbita, who's also with us, started a youth basketball tournament, which I opened up just a few weeks ago. And I want to thank him and also his officers who all did it on volunteer time and did it on every Friday night to make sure the kids have coaches, they have adult mentoring, and they play basketball and from multiple schools. And we're also joined by the Southern District or area officer, Fred Waller, has been here, who has encouraged all the commanders of his area to start some after school, some type of athletic activity for our kids. And I think I would like to, on behalf of the city, to say to each of the commanders and the men and women that they lead, you are the true face of the city of Chicago's police department. Thank you for what you do. So as we continue working to make our neighborhoods safer, our parks and our playgrounds must continue to play an essential role. A new century for Chicago requires a new plan for Chicago's parks and recreational spaces, built on Burnham's original insight. Our plan, building on Burnham, now there's an original, will bring the spirit and benefits of Burnham's original plan to every resident of Chicago. This is exactly what residents have been asking for, just as Superintendent Kelly just noted in his conversations and meetings across the city as we design plans district by district, building by building. It will use Chicago's two bodies of water, our river and our lake, to enhance the quality of life in our neighborhoods. It will make our parks constant places for play and also spawn more centers of opportunity and learning for our children and families. And it will elevate the status of our existing parks to help bring cultural vibrancy and economic growth to every Chicago neighborhood. Chicago remains and always will be the city in a garden. Now is the time to make sure that that garden blooms in every neighborhood in our city. Our plan for the future of our parks will build on the foundation and the vision that we pursued over the last 4 years. Thanks to the strong leadership of Superintendent Mike Kelly, his staff, board chair and past chair Brian Traubert for over the past 5 years, and our new chair, Jesse Ruiz, together with residents and community leaders throughout Chicago, we have begun to reinvest and reinvent our park system. Nearly 3 years ago, we launched Chicago Plays, an ambitious initiative to rebuild and modernize 325 standalone playgrounds. It's one of the largest efforts of its kind for any city, and it's why Chicago was recognized 2 years in a row by Kaboom for our investments in playgrounds throughout the city. We did this to ensure that children and families have a safe place to play in every Chicago neighborhood. And when Amy and I were looking at our home, one of the reasons that we purchased our home was that 4 lots up from our house was a pocket playground that we could take the kids, or throw the kids at, both for the swings and the tires and all the activities, and I could see all the other Saturday dads out there. But it was one of the reasons we moved on to Hermitage. And I will just say, If you look at some of the playgrounds we do today, they have zip lines, colored sand. You want to look at these playgrounds, you want to turn around and sue your parents for denying you the childhood you deserved. It's an incredible playgrounds today. And having a park close by is a key factor in bringing and keeping more young families in our neighborhoods. This summer, we will complete the remaining 82 playgrounds, a year ahead of schedule. In addition, some of our communities have now received completely new park space. Last year, thanks to the commitment of so many community leaders, we opened La Vitia, also known as the Big Park in Little Village. It's located on the old Silatex site. It was the largest brownfield conversion in America. It transformed a polluted and unusable land into a park that serves children and families of Little Village. This past June, we opened the 606, an idea that residents had been advocating for decades. We helped make their vision a reality, and now people from around the city and around the country are walking, running, and biking on the great promenade connecting 4 different and distinct communities. And I want to thank all the architects led by the team of Van Valkenburg Associates for their great design. In the past year, we've opened 2 nature preserves areas, one on Norley Island as part of the museum campus, and one at West Ridge at Western and Peterson. By this fall, we will open the first phase of Big Marsh, a 278-acre bike park and nature preserve on the south side, giving families throughout the city access to natural wonders of the Calumet region. And I want to thank everyone from SRAM for promoting the Big Marsh Bike Park and their partnership in this effort. And last year, we opened up the now famous Maggie Daley Park, honoring the visionary work of Chicago's former First Lady. We took a piece of our land on our lakefront that was long ignored and reclaimed it for the children and families from all across Chicago. And they, their parents, and their grandparents are making great use of it. If you add up all these investments, together, we have created the equivalent of 5 Millennium Parks across Chicago. In addition to all of these projects I mentioned, in the past 5 years, we have also added 750 acres of additional parkland in our city. So as you can see, the Park District has been working pretty hard to improve and create new park space. Now we will accelerate those efforts through our Building on Burnham plan, which I present to you today. Let's start with our lakefront, the most heavily used part of our Park District. Like Lake Michigan has always been Chicago's front yard. It's our greatest natural resource and one of Chicago's most important cultural, recreational, and commercial sites. The recreational heart of our lakefront is the Lakefront Trail, an 18-mile pathway connecting communities from South Shore to Edgewater. More Chicagoans than ever before are now walking, running, biking along this unique trail, and that's great. But more traffic brings more bottlenecks and even more collisions sometimes. That's why, as part of this plan, we will improve the Lakefront Trail to make it safer, more accessible, and more enjoyable for Chicago residents. By 2018, we will complete the Navy Pier flyover. We will also create separate trails for runners and bikers from 31st to 51st on the south side and from Fullerton to Ohio on the north side. And no longer will you have to repeatedly hear over your headphones on your left. That's especially true for some of us who do an 8:15 mile. You don't have to laugh at that, that was okay. In the past 3 years, we will completely repave 7 miles of Lakefront Trail with a clear north and south divider to make it safer for everyone. And alongside it, there'll be crushed ground like there is at 606 for those of us who have 20-year-old hopes and aspirations, but yet 50-year-old knees and joints. Carrie, be quiet, I'm counting your laughters. We'll also add unique features along the lakefront, including gathering places within the Burnham Wildlife Corridor for children to learn about nature, the pool and event space at 31st Street Harbor, More art installations along the trail, including a work by Yoko Ono in Jackson Park, and a state-of-the-art climbing wall at Steelworks Park, and we will also add a new triathlon training space at Ohio Street Beach. But even with all this, some of our communities and their residents still remain cut off from the lakefront, like the greater Bronzeville area. Residents of Bronzeville can see the lake from their second floor, but they cannot easily reach it. To expand access to the lakefront and its amenities, we will open the 35th Street Bridge this August, featuring a spectacular design by John Hillman. The bridge will link the community to a new Park District facility with a swimming pool and an arts rec center. This year, we'll also begin construction on the pedestrian-only bridges at 41st Street and 43rd Street, and the reconstruction of the bridge on 31st and Oakwood Avenue. These bridges will finally give the people of Bronzeville, the Quad community, and Kenwood easy access to lakefront at multiple points. And this week, we will cut the ribbon on a brand new space for Theater on the Lake at Fullerton and begin construction on the more year-round space for up-and-coming theater companies to use at Theater on the Lake. And I have a particular interest because as a congressman, I began the process by securing the funds to convert Theater on the Lake to a year-round use. I had to run for mayor to actually get it done, so it will now happen. Now we all know the lake is our front yard. These spaces, these investments are its welcome gates. Together, it is my hope that they will be the most significant and sustained investments in our lakefront since the days of Daniel Burnham. The Chicago River is a spine that connects many neighborhoods throughout the city. There are more miles of waterfront on our river than our lakefront. It makes you want to go U.S. history for 200. There it is. If the lake is our front yard, then the river should become our residential backyard. In our Building on Burnham plan, we will fulfill the pledge I made upon taking office as mayor, to make the river Chicago's next great recreational park. We will finally make it part of our neighborhoods rather than a separate part of the city given over to industry and commerce. When we closed Chicago's last 2 coal-fired power plants 4 years ago, in Pilsen and in Little Village, we dramatically decreased the amount of industrial traffic, opening the river for recreational use. All those decades of industrial use took their toll on the river, and we all know what I mean. Even just a few years ago, the river was something you tried to avoid for your health. But today, we are reclaiming the river for Chicago residents. We are transforming it from an eyesore of our industrial past into an anchor for our neighborhood's revitalization. We created the Great Rivers Chicago Initiative, led by the Metropolitan Planning Council and Friends of the Chicago River. The goal is to take a broader look at all 3 of our region's rivers, the Chicago, the Calumet, and the Des Plaines rivers, and the new vision of the Chicago River that I'm announcing today is actually an outgrowth of that process. I'm also proud that the health of the river is being restored as a part of this process, as noted yesterday in the Tribune. 40 years ago, there were just 7 aquatic species in the river. And according to the Friends of the Chicago River, today there are 75, telling you that if you invest in the quality of our environment, you can make a dramatic imprint and increase the quality of life, not only for the river, but for everybody involved. In the past 4 years, we invested in the river's recreational use. We've opened 3 boathouses along the river. In Pingtom Park and in River Park, both were designed by Chris Lee. And in Clark Park, which was designed by Jeannie Gang. This fall, we'll open the 4th and final boathouse, Eleanor, in Bridgeport, also designed by Jeannie Gang. This means there will soon be a place to enjoy the river in every part of the city, whether you want to canoe with your family, kayak, or crew. Last May, thanks to the tireless advocacy of the Friends of the Chicago River, we opened the first phase of the new Chicago Riverwalk. It has taken a part of the city that was closed for decades and opened it up for families and guests alike. When completed this fall, the Riverwalk will span over 1.25 miles from Lakeshore Drive to Lake Street on the west end. Its purpose is to give our residents direct access to the river, and its beautiful design is a testament to the great works of architectural teams led by Ross Barney and Sasaki Associates. And I want to thank all those who are bringing this dream to fruition: the architects, the engineers, and most importantly, the construction workers who are out there today completing the work to be on time. The Riverwalk is transforming the area along the river in our central business district. The plan we are announcing today will bring the same renewal to our neighborhoods from the South Branch to the North Branch. We're ending the days of people being cut off from the river and re-engaging it to improve the quality of life in our neighborhoods. Our plan ensures that residents will have an opportunity to access and enjoy the river on an average of every mile along the North and South branches, whether it's through an extension of the Riverwalk, a boathouse, or a pedestrian bridge. This past Sunday, we announced the new plan for the Rails and Trails project along the river called the Pilsen and Little Village Paseo. It will transform an abandoned railroad corridor into a vibrant recreational space for the residents of Pilsen and Little Village, fulfilling a pledge I made after we cut the ribbon on 606. I want to thank Tracy Fraga for her leadership of this effort from the Pilsen neighborhoods, and Kim Wasserman for her leadership for Little Village, both who are here with us today, and I want to thank them. Also, and Alderman Solis, who originally talked to me about this plan 5 years ago. To all those who have been advocating, congratulations on this accomplishment. We are also expanding the Riverwalk from Roosevelt to Harrison in the South Loop, paving the way for more recreational economic opportunities in that fast-growing, emerging neighborhood. We will construct 2 bridges. One is the Riverview Bridge, a nearly 2-block-long pedestrian bridge in Albany Park. The second one is a new connection to Horner Park under the Irving Park Bridge, meaning there will be one less road to cross for walkers, joggers, and bicyclists. And we will expand Thillins Park below Devon Avenue to give its surrounding residents more green space along the river. When all is said and done, we will make the city of Chicago unique in the country for having 2 separate and distinct waterfronts that are open, accessible, and desirable for residents and visitors alike. And it will give residents along the river the same amenities that people along the lakefront enjoy. Building on Burnham, we'll also expand cultural and recreational opportunities for our children and families in every neighborhood, building on the success of the Night Out in the Park program that Superintendent Kelly had described earlier. Last July, we broke ground on the new XS tennis facility in Washington Park on the south side. And I want to thank Kamau Murray again for his vision, his commitment, and his tenacity on behalf of his idea to give the youth of Chicago, 4,000 kids, access to the great sports and also the safety, security, and the mentoring that comes with that. Thank you again. We've invested in a new track facility at Gately Park on the south side, and we hope that the state of Illinois would follow through on their commitment from 2014 to invest their resources to support this project and, more importantly, support the kids of Chicago who can earn the scholarships to go on to universities. We'll also be investing in a new rec center for Adams and Medill Park on the near west side that will have 2 baseball fields and more green space for recreation. But this is not just about creating fields and buildings and bricks and mortar. We're rethinking the entire programming model, working together across different agencies and departments to better serve the residents in different neighborhoods throughout the city of Chicago. Our goal is to make all their facilities more accessible and the programming they offer more desirable and effective for the youth. For example, the new Beverly and Morgan Park Sports Center offers programs in gymnastics and ice sports. At Big Marsh, kids can partake in adventure sports. At Columbus Park, they can learn soccer and golf. At Clark Park, they can play football, baseball, soccer, or crew, ensuring that kids from across our neighborhoods have access to all different types of athletic activities. And we'll also make space available in these public facilities for community partners, so they can offer their own programming for kids of Chicago. Every child in every neighborhood deserves to have these opportunities within reach, and soon they will. And as we connect our children to more recreational and educational opportunities, we will also connect them to the natural areas that exist all around us. When it comes to the beauty of our natural areas, the second city should never be second to anyone. From fishing to biking to walking off the beaten path, Chicago offers a chance to experience nature without ever leaving the city limits. Now is the time to open more of these natural areas for more of our families. And we have to be honest. Some kids cannot afford to make it to Wisconsin or out west. Some of our kids never even make it to the lakefront. We must give them access to world-class natural spaces and the experience that come with it without ever having to leave the city. Today, our park district manages 65 protected natural areas, encompassing more than 1,400 acres throughout the city of Chicago. In the past 4 years, we've doubled that acreage through planning and conservation efforts. Building on Burnham, we'll take this expansion of natural areas to the next level, adding another 750 acres, setting the goal of 2,020 acres of protected natural areas in the city of Chicago by the year 2020. For the past century, Daniel Burnham's plan helped make Chicago true to our motto as the great city in a garden that we are today. It was the blueprint for ensuring that Chicago could coexist with our growing industry through having parks, beaches, and museums to serve our residents while attracting visitors from around the globe. Building on Burnham stays true to that vision by ensuring that as our community economy continues to grow today, we also enhance the quality of life for residents throughout the city of Chicago. As Chicago grows, we have a responsibility to build on Burnham's plan and strengthen it to see the river and other parts of the city in a way that Daniel Burnham could never have envisioned, but it still stays true to the principles of a city in a garden. Some may suggest this is not the time for this project, that our city doesn't have the resources. I believe we have the responsibility to make our neighborhoods safer and stronger and to give more of our young children and adolescents the opportunities that our parks and recreation offered us when we were growing up. Let's be clear. It was Daniel Burnham who said, "Make no little plans. They have no magic to stir men's blood. Make big plans and aim high in hope and in work." By being more creative, more collaborative, and more comprehensive in our vision, we will extend Burnham's blueprint to every corner of Chicago. We will create recreational economic opportunities for thousands of residents, draw visitors from downtown into other neighborhoods, and keep children in every neighborhood safe, engaged, and learning. Beyond being the largest after-school program in the city, we will also continue to make sure that the Park District projects expand economic opportunities for all our residents and continues to be the largest summer jobs program for our kids. Most importantly, building on Burnham's plan will help ensure that the city in a garden is within reach of every child in Chicago. In this way, we can ensure that our children make no little plans, because we want their dreams and their futures to be unlimited. Thank you.